music is going to be appreciaed by those that are involved in it, the general public. Back in the big band days, let's say circa 1940, early 50s, when the big bands were still very much in existence, they were playing music for people that were involved on a dance floor, that were dancing to the sounds that they heard. Very much like today, of course, the music is dictating what is going to be danced.
Well, you sort of specialize in big band music. Why is this? Is there some special appeal to you from the big band era?
Oh, yeah, there again, very much so, because I feel that when the big band era was in its full forte, so to speak, I was a little too young to actually be involved in it as such. And when the time did come around, when I became of the age where I could enjoy the big band area by being personally involved, there weren't any more big bands around.
The music that you perform now with your band, is that original big band music, or do you write it yourself, or do you rearrange it just to sound like big band?
This is a culmination of several factors. Originally, when I got this music together for big band performance, I endeavored to get as many original charts or arrangements of the big bands as possible. And I wrote to many sources around the country, and I was very fortunate in finding those arrangements that I did. Several of them are the actual arrangements that were used in recordings that are very, very familiar, such as Glenn Miller's original Moonlight Serenade, which is a tune that he wrote, of course, and that he recorded, and that we use as our theme song.
Well, are these arrangements from the big band realm very complicated? Are they easy to play, or somewhat complex?
On a scale from 1 to 4, they run from 1 to 4. And I would say it's depending upon which arrangement it is. Some, of course, are more complex than others. However, the complexity of the arrangements on the total scene is the fact that we're talking about getting 13 people together to coordinate. And when we have this, we have precise movement in music, and because we do, this in turn makes it exceedingly complex, where everyone must know exactly where he is and what he's doing.
Getting talented enough to play a musical instrument, is that very difficult? What does it take?
First of all, it takes a desire, attitude, and discipline. Those three factors there will make a success of anyone and anything, really. And if applied to music, it's a practically guaranteed phenomenon. I would say that first, decide if you really want to do this thing, if you really want to get into music, if you have a certain feeling for an instrument, whether it be voice or whether it be even some strange instrument. Perhaps you might have wanted to play the guitar, but felt, oh, no, I can't do that because I'm too old for it. I should have taken lessons when I was a child, like most people. Well, perhaps that can be true. However, that's the norm. But we're not talking about the norm now. For example, because I've always had this more or less hidden feeling about playing music, and as I'd mentioned earlier that the war came along and it interrupted my music studies and so forth, I didn't get back into music until much, much later. And I had the same thoughts, feeling that here I am, a fellow of this age, and I didn't continue with my music as a child. What chance do I have to do it? And then one day I came across an article in the newspaper that told me about, we all know about Kentucky Fried Chicken and Colonel Sanders. Well, here's a fellow that didn't get started with his life and business until he was 69 years old. I said to myself, if that guy can do what he did at age 69, why can't I do what I want at age 30? And with that, I pulled out all the stops and went gung-ho, and every opportunity that presented itself in music, I just jumped on it. That's everything from joining the American Legion in New Orleans, Post 125, and playing under the baton of Frank Rosato, to forming my own little six-piece group with the Alfred Bonneville High School Music Seniors.
Now, your instrument is the trumpet. What words can you lay on us about trumpet playing? Is it a special feeling that you get when you play?
Well, I remember we had the good fortune to have Mr. Doc Severinsen come down for a clinic when I was attending some private instructions over at Loyola University. This was back, around 1967. And I asked that question of Doc Severinsen. Of course, we all know who he is. And he answered it this way. He told me that trumpet playing is a unique experience. It is an instrument that has a personality of its own, if you will. It's unlike the guitar, piano, or some of these other instruments that seem to be so popular. The trumpet, when you pick up the trumpet, it becomes more of a personal feeling. It's something that you feel practically inside of you. It's akin to nothing else I can describe. It's practically a love affair.
Did you have to practice a lot to become really good at trumpet?
Bringing Doc Severinsen back into the picture again, this very question was asked of him by one of the people attending this particular clinic. The question was, how come, Mr. Severinsen, you're as good as you are, and here I am always struggling? And his answer to that was, how long do you practice? So there is no shortcuts to playing music, especially the trumpet. Everyone has to take the same road. That is desire and, number one, discipline. If you discipline yourself and you hit the horn, as he put it, every day, anywhere from 20 minutes to 8 hours a day. And from that point on, it's going to determine how good you're going to be. There are no geniuses, there are no self-made, or let's say, put it another way, natural talents. Certainly, natural ability comes in to a certain degree, but the rest is hard work.
Today we're going to be talking about his band that he has put together. Al, how long has this band been going?
I'd say almost 2 years now, because I got to work in searching out the area, as I mentioned earlier, for the local musical talent that would be available. And I didn't waste any time. It seemed that I was very fortunate in locating the people that I did almost immediately. And we got something off the ground mighty quick. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned a little bit earlier also, that I was willing to do just about anything to get this group going, and naturally we needed a place to play. So I began searching the local organizations to see who needed bands. And they told me that the various organizations that I talked to told me that they hired bands on occasion. However, I was talking to one ambitious recruiter that told me that we would consider hiring a band of any member first. So I immediately became a member. And as a result of that, we got an immediate job. However, the fact that we do have a large organization by today's standards, when I say large organization, I'm speaking of my band, by today's standards, 3, 4, 5, and 6 groups are the most predominant in musical circles. However, I prefer the big band. This is why I have one. And 13 pieces are a lot of pieces, and these individuals, of course, need to get paid. And because of it, the budgets of the organizations usually don't run quite this high. And the result is that we don't have as much work as we would like. However, we are enjoying the work that we are getting.
What kind of instruments do you have in the band?
The instrumentation is pretty standard in the big band idiom, such as we feature 4 saxophones, 3 trumpets, 2 trombones, and 3 rhythm, which are comprised of piano, bass, and drums.
That must be quite a job, transporting all this people and equipment and setting up and performing and then taking it down.
Well, it was, Ron. It was. I say was because we're not using as much equipment as we were. We featured the tall pylon speakers with the amplifiers and so forth, and I began taking notice that when we were performing, I'm looking at the amplification system, and I noticed on a scale from 1 to 10, the volume control, that we generally set the volume at about 1.5. And because we have so many pieces, and when we play, we really play, I just decided that why do all this work? Let's save our strength to really put on a good performance. And we did away with most of the amplification system with the exception of one speaker and one microphone that is used principally by our female vocalist.
What kind of songs do y'all do?
We run the gamut, Ron, from everything, most everything from the 40s, the early 40s, actually late 30s, and early 40s, all the way through the present-day contemporary sounds.
Do you find that learning these tunes, the performances, is a challenge to some of your newer members?
Not really, because of the fact that they're such gifted professionals that they'll sit down and play anything. They'll just sit down and play anything cold and come up with it right the first time. I wish I could say as much for myself, but these people are really, really a joy to watch and listen to.
Does your band take any special measures to sort of dress up? Do they have costumes or something like that?
Yes, Ron. The band is dressed in black tuxedos with white formal shirts and black bow ties.